On December 23, 2025, a message appeared on X that stopped the political world in its tracks. It wasn't a policy announcement or a campaign teaser. It was a blunt, heartbreaking, and characteristically honest admission from former Nebraska Senator Ben Sasse, at just 53 years old. Sasse revealed he has been diagnosed with metastasized, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. He didn't use euphemisms, he didn't hide behind political platitudes, he called it what it is, a death sentence. Sasse wrote to his followers, "Friends, this is a tough note to write, but since a bunch of you have started to suspect something, I'll cut to the chase. Last week I was diagnosed with metastasized stage 4 pancreatic cancer and I'm gonna die, in a world of carefully managed PR and sterile press releases." This was raw. It was the voice of a man who has spent his career warning Americans about the fragility of our institutions, now facing the ultimate fragility of the human body. Today we are looking at the life, the legacy, and the final march of one of the most intellectually complex figures in modern American politics. To understand why this news is hitting so hard, you have to understand that Ben Sasse was never your typical career politician. Before he ever set foot in the Senate, he was an academic historian with a PhD from Yale and a resume that included the presidency of Midland University. When he arrived in Washington in 2015, he was quickly labeled the thinker of the Republican Party. He didn't just talk about taxes or trade. He talked about the loneliness epidemic, the vanishing American adult, and the way digital technology was shredding the social fabric of our neighborhoods. He was a conservative pro-life, pro-market, and a constitutional originalist, but he was also a man who seemed deeply uncomfortable with the tribalism of modern politics. This independent streak would eventually put him on a collision course with the most powerful force in his party, Donald Trump. Sasse's relationship with the former president was defined by a unique kind of friction. While he voted with the Trump administration's policies the vast majority of the time and helped seat 3 conservative Supreme Court justices, he could not stomach the rhetoric. He famously called out what he saw as the weird worship of one dude, and after the events of January 6, 2021, Sasse did what few in his party dared. He became one of 7 Republican senators to vote to convict Donald Trump of incitement of insurrection. The backlash back home in Nebraska was swift and severe. He was censured by his own state's GOP, but Sasse didn't back down. In a video response that went viral, he told his constituents that politics wasn't about screaming matches or personality cults. It was about principles. He often spoke about the anti-tribes, people who don't actually have a positive vision for the future, but only know who they hate. This intellectual honesty made him a hero to some and a traitor to others. But it ultimately made him a man without a political home. It was perhaps this exhaustion with the anger industrial complex of D.C. that led to his retirement from the Senate in early 2023. Sasse transitioned from the Senate to the University of Florida, where he served as president for 17 months. It was a chance to put his academic theories into practice at one of the nation's largest public universities. However, his tenure was cut short by a series of events that now seem even more poignant. In July 2024, he resigned unexpectedly to care for his wife, Melissa, who had been diagnosed with epilepsy and was struggling with memory issues following a previous brain aneurysm. At the time, Sasse said his wife deserved a husband who could pull his weight, and his children needed a dad who could be home. He chose his family over power, a move that echoed his lifelong message about the importance of local life, the people across your dinner table being more important than the people on your television screen. Now, only a year and a half after that transition, the tables have turned. Sasse is the one facing a health crisis, and it is the most formidable one imaginable. Pancreatic cancer is often called the silent killer because it is rarely detected until it has reached an advanced stage. According to the American Cancer Society, more than 67,000 Americans are diagnosed annually. And because it metastasizes so quickly, the survival rate for stage 4 is tragically low. Sasse's announcement reflects the grim reality of the biology, but it also reflects the depth of his Christian faith. In his post, Sasse noted that while the news is devastating, the timing during the season of Advent offers a specific kind of perspective. As a Christian, the weeks running up to Christmas are a time to orient our hearts toward the hope of what is to come, he said. He described himself as marching to the beat of a faster drummer, a poetic way of acknowledging that his time is now measured in months or weeks rather than decades. He spoke of the jaw-dropping advances in science and immunotherapy, pledging that he isn't going down without a fight. But he also spoke with the calm of a man who has long meditated on the nature of mortality. There is a profound irony in Sasse's diagnosis appearing right before Christmas 2025. Throughout his career, Sasse's favorite theme was the vanishing American adult, the idea that we have lost the ability to face hard truths with maturity and grace. In his final act, he seems to be modeling the very maturity he preached. He is not railing against the unfairness of the universe or looking for someone to blame. Instead, he is focusing on his wife and his 3 children, Corey, Alex, and Breck. He is focusing on the irreverent gallows humor that he says his family is using to get through the day. For his critics, Sasse was often seen as too academic, perhaps even a bit sanctimonious. They argued that he talked a big game about principles but didn't always lead the charge when it mattered most. But for his supporters, he was a lonely voice of sanity in a room full of people shouting for clicks. He was a man who understood that history is long and that today's political outrages are usually forgotten by next Tuesday. His farewell speech to the Senate remains one of the most remarkable in modern history, where he decried both the left and the right for turning America into a story of victimhood. He warned that if we only see our history as a narrative of oppression or our future as a lost cause, we lose the capacity for redemption and hope. As we process this news, it is worth looking back at the Sasse philosophy one more time. He believed that the most important things in life happen in the intermediate institutions, the churches, the schools, the local charities, and the family unit. He believed that Washington, D.C. was far less important than we think it is. Now, in the face of a terminal diagnosis, he is living that philosophy out. He is retreating from the public eye to the place he always said mattered most: home. The statistics for stage 4 pancreatic cancer are a harsh reality. With a 5-year survival rate of only around 3% for metastasized cases, the faster drummer Sasse mentions is a reality he is facing with open eyes. But as he reminded his followers, death and dying aren't the same. The process of dying is still something to be lived. It is a powerful reminder for all of us, whether we are facing a medical crisis or just the daily grind of life, that how we spend our remaining time is the only thing we can truly control. Ben Sasse's legacy will likely be debated for years. Was he a principled statesman who stood up to a populist wave? Or was he a traditionalist who couldn't adapt to a changing world? Regardless of where you land on his politics, it is hard to deny the dignity of his departure. He is leaving the stage not with a whimper of self-pity, but with a clear-eyed statement of faith and a final lesson on what it means to be an American adult. As we move into the new year, the Sasse family faces a journey that no one wants to take, but in his own words, there is a sense of peace. He is a man who spent his life studying history, and he knows that every story has an end. His goal now is to make sure the final chapters are written with the same intellectual and spiritual rigor that defined his first. Our thoughts are with the Sasse family as they navigate this incredibly difficult season. If you found this deep dive into Ben Sasse's life and current battle helpful, please consider subscribing for more political analysis and human stories. We'll be keeping an eye on this story and providing updates as they come. For now, let us take a page from Sasse's book and remember to focus on the things that actually matter this holiday season. Thank you for watching.